Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Michael Lee from Chillax Coding, and this is episode 3 in my series for Intro to SQL. So last time we installed the database engine and the management studio. We got to the point where we was able to launch the management studio, hopefully successfully. You got there too. And then that's where we end the video. And I promised you that we was gonna install the or download the AdventureWorks database 2012 for this episode. However, I thought about it and I think that I think it'd be you get more value with this episode if I would just give you a quick tour of the Management Studio, show you some quick tips to help your experience with the user interface, and then I'll quickly demonstrate, just creating a database, then a table, then inserting a record into the table, and then querying the information back. So I'll give you a demonstration of the power of the database engine, as well as getting familiarized with the Management Studio, and then for the next episode, we can download the AdventureWorks database, and then you be more familiarized with us trying to break apart, each table objects, and then querying information back. I'll rush through this episode real quickly. I won't go into much detail at all about what I'm doing. I know that you won't understand everything you see, but I promise that for the following tutorials series that we'll be taking a step back and just really reviewing what's happening, okay, with those commands that I'll be executing. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and launch the Management Studio 2012. I noticed something. I say with that being said a lot. Alright, so here is this. So this is your machine name or your computer name. This is the name instant that you named it in the previous video. And earlier, we also gave you an option to log in by window authentication. No password required. You just hit connect. Or if you were like me and use mixed mode, it will allow you to log in with a user, and then whatever password that you set up for that user. The SA user is a system administrator. Is the default like super account for your database, and it's one that I created a password for, and now I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna go ahead and check this box to remember the password. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, and you should do as well, so that your interface or your user interface matches what I have going on screen. But I'm gonna make a couple options, well, a couple changes here to help improve your user experience. What I mean by that is, if you go down to Tools, Options, and right underneath Font and Colors, I'm gonna go ahead and increase the size from 10 to 14, so that you, the viewers, are able to see what I'm writing more clearly, instead of having you squint or trying to, be all close to the monitor. And then for you too, if you are having problem, if your vision is not that great, you can also increase the size font here to help your experience when you type your code. Okay. Then next thing I want to change is underneath text editor. If I expand this, go down to transact SQL, I'm going to enable the line numbering. This is a really neat feature. It just every single line of code you write has an associated line numbering to it, and then if you make a mistake, the database engine will refer back to that line number, so that you can quickly identify where the mistake happens and hopefully be able to fix the error that was raised. All right, so that's and also another thing too is, if you had a property window right here that was automatically open, I'm just gonna go ahead and close it. I'm not gonna be using it within this tutorial series. It's not needed, and I just want to have a larger workspace for me to work in. So if you want to go ahead and close that property windows, you can as well. And again, if you ever want to get it back, just go down to the View menu item and then just select property window. Alright, so before I just start writing a whole bunch of code and executing it, I want to just explain that there are two ways in the Management Studio for you to achieve what you want to accomplish. You can either use method 1, which is by the GUI, the graphical user interface, which typically requires no coding at all, or you use a query, running your commands out, explicitly defining your objects and columns, and then explicitly entering the values, as opposed to just clicking and well, I'll give you a demonstration here. If I want to create a new database, I just go over to this folder here called databases, right click, go to new database, and then type in the database name, hit OK, and the database is created. Or I can go up here, select new query, and then I can type out a series of code to create the database object. I believe this is a better method for you to learn, because you actually get a better understanding of how things are put together, what is needed, what is done behind the scene, that does the same thing as you right clicking something and hitting an options. So for majority of this tutorial, and once in a while I'll use the shortcut when I'm feeling lazy, or when it's just interest of saving time, I might be using the GUI options, but for majority of it, I'll be using the query scripts. Okay, guys. All right, so now it's just gonna be let's go ahead and create a database. The keyword is create database, and then the database name. So I was just gonna call this my first DB, and then with a semicolon. This is not needed, but it's good convention. Alright, commands completed successfully. That means that you successfully execute your commands. And if I go down to the database here it is. If you do not see it, if you do not see what you created here, the database, go ahead and right click, go to refresh, and then it should appear here. Okay. Alright, so now that we created a database, let's go ahead and switch our database context to the new database that we just created. So up here you see that we have something called, we're working inside a master database context. However, we go to this drop down menu, we can either switch to your database context that you just created, my first DB, by going like that, and now all the code you'll be writing to in this area here will be executed to the this database file that you just created. However, another way that you can switch database context is by using the keyword use and then the database, so my first DB. Notice that IntelliSense picks up what. So looking at this, I typed in MYF, and over here the only database that has that string in its name is the one that you just created. So IntelliSense help you quickly narrow down your options so that you don't have to type out the whole keywords or the whole table names or whatever else that you're trying to reference to. So at this point you can just hit tab, and it will automatically fill in that that word for you. So use execute, and as you can see, it went from master to my first DB database context. You can either click this button here to execute, or you can or you can hit the F5 key, which is the hotkey to execute. Now that we are working on a database context, let's go ahead and create a table for that database. So the keyword is create table, and the table name, let's go ahead and just create an employee table, and then you would start a parenthesis, open parenthesis, and then define your columns. Employee ID would be the first column. It will be a primary key. Well, actually, it has to follow the data types by primary key, and then not null. I'll explain more of this in the future tutorial. A second column name will be first name. It also is a of type data type varchar with 25 allocated storage character space, and it is also not null because you don't want to have an employee without the first name in the table. Middle name, also of type varchar, and this one can be null. Null just mean not defined or unknown. Doesn't mean empty. So we'll get more into nulls later on. And then one more column name. Let's go with last name. Also the of type and varchar 25 and not null. And now I'll go ahead and close the parenthesis, and then let's end it with a semicolon, and then I can just hit execute. There you go. And let's to verify your table is there. You could just hit this drop down, and then also drop down or collapse, expand the tables folders, and there it is. So now that we have created a table for employees, let's go ahead and add a record to it. So keyword is insert into. The keywords well, it doesn't need to be. All right, so SQL is not case sensitive, so I can type in insert into upper, and as you see, it's still or it's highlighted in the font of blue, and which represented is a SQL keywords. But conventions that you want to have all your keywords be capitalized. So insert into table name, so employee. And by the way, if you don't see the actually you don't even need the schema name, but if you do not see employees table, what you need to do is just refresh your IntelliSense. So go to the cache for the IntelliSense. So go underneath, I believe, edit IntelliSense down here to refresh local cache. Once you do that, you should be able to see IntelliSense pick up the employee table names. All right. Next, so the syntax is insert into table names, followed by the explicitly the explicit column names. So employee ID, first name, middle name, last name. Go to the next line, next keyword, values, and then what value you want to insert into the columns. So the primary key should always start with 1 and increment up. But so it's 1, and then since this first name column is a type and varchar, it needs to be surrounded by a single quotation, which indicated is a character word, as opposed to like an integer or something like that. So go ahead and make up a first name, which is me, and then the middle name can be whatever, coding, last name, like, and then I'll go ahead and close the parenthesis and semicolon. One thing you need to make sure that if you are explicitly defining your column names, then you need to have the same number of values associated with the columns. So if you are for example, if this is 1 2 3 4, this needs to be 4 as well. 1 2 3 4. If you have uneven numbers, the database engine will throw back an error saying that you have more columns named than values inserted can be inserted into, because database engine wouldn't know exactly which value goes to which columns, right? So that's that. All right, anyway, so let's go ahead and execute this. So now that we have inserted a record, at least that's what it says down here, one row affected, we need to verify that. So the next query is a select statement. Select star stands for select all columns from table names, so employee. And I should be expecting to see back one row, right? And then it should be employee ID that we just inserted, employee ID 1 that we just inserted, Michael. Middle name Chillax Coding, last name Lee. So as you can see here, I broke this up into 2 lines. This is the way that it's more reader friendly, because later on you have other keyword like where, order by, having, group by, etc, etc, etc. So that's how you can make your code looks cleaner. But like I said though, uh, yeah, I'll just show you something. So because SQL is not case sensitive, it could be like that, this could be like this, this could be like that. Well, it has to be together, but this could be all the way over here, this could be in a new row, this could be all the way over here. See, so it also, I get it, there's no error. This is legitimately a correct is correct query. uh, Syntactically there's nothing wrong with this, it just looks terrible. It's not readable. So you know, I was just trying to prove a point. All right, so now that we have inserted a record into the table, that's pretty much all I really want to talk about in this episode. Like I said, it's just giving you guys an opportunity to be more familiarized with the interface itself, and then just seeing some, you know, some commands being executed, information being either inserted or returned, so that when we finally do work within the AdventureWorks 2012 database, it will have lots of information, but we'll be able to break it down um, one by one, and then hopefully you'll be, because of this, we had this quick demonstration video here, you'll be able to understand a little bit more about syntactically how things are organized so that a query can be executed. Alright, so now that we created this table and this database, which was all done for demonstration purposes, we can go ahead and drop those. Dropping is the same thing as deleting, so let's go ahead and delete the table first. So the keyword is drop table name, well, drop table, then the table name, so employee. Alright, so it's still here, but if you right click, hit refresh, it no longer exists. So next off, let's go ahead and this database here, let's go ahead and delete that too. But this time, instead of using the query, I'll go ahead and just use the GUI. And there, the database is gone now. Alright, so yeah guys, I'll see you in the next episode, and thank you for being here. Peace.